Hi, I am Bimpe Femi-Oyewo and I am on People.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another interesting episode of On People. On People is a podcast on people at work. Here we discuss live insights. We take learnings from people who have been there, done that, learned some, and can share some. My name is Aniema. I'm back again, and I am here with my co-host Toe.
Yay, Aniema, excited to be back. I have known today's guest
Me
for as
too.
long as forever, right? But she's had her work centered around implementing education initiatives and human rights, very big on human rights. She's constantly leading projects, leading partnerships at the international, community, and state levels. So she's that impressive. Founder of Edward Consulting, an educational consulting firm, and their mission is to improve access to quality higher education overseas for Africans, like a dream to our ears, right? She's also the co founder of an NGO, Kinnect, that provide people in impoverished communities access to education, healthcare, and basic amenities. I've been a part of a part of their retreats or outreaches for Kinnect. But now introducing Bimpe Femi-Oyewo to On People. Whoop whoop. Hi, Bimpe.
Yay!
Woo!
Hi, thank you so much for having me. So excited to be here.
Fantastic. So we'll just dive straight in. Education, education, education. Why? What sparked this journey down this career path of education? And then we'll sort of take it from there.
Thank you, Tom. So I think that for me, I had the opportunity to go for both my undergrad and master's in the US, and I saw firsthand how education can be so powerful to impact lives and just transform not just that individual, but generation. And I also saw how Africans were not necessarily maximizing that education or didn't have as much access. And what I wanted to do with Edward Consulting was to start something with it that was driven or had the drive of helping Africans access quality education at an affordable rate. So for us, it's important that any African from Nigeria, Ghana, Togo, South Africa, wherever they are, can access education, and funding or lack of resources shouldn't be a problem, especially after they've done the work to get into top programs. So in 5 years, Edward Consulting has been able to secure over $19.8 million. I think I say that so often, and it always sounds so small, but it's so big. And that amount is I think it's about 21.8 billion in Naira. So it's even a much larger amount in Naira. And not just doing education overseas, but also doing education on the ground. We have a lot of partners on the ground. One of the amazing partnerships that we have is the Dolly Children Foundation. It's a free tuition school in Ogun State that put about 15 out-of-school kids in Ogun State in a school. And so it's a free tuition. So the students are not paying tuition. So how do they run that organization, which is where Edward Consulting comes in? We've been able to, thankfully, been fortunate to be able to support them with the paying of teacher salaries and just, day-to-day challenges that they have. And I'm very, thankful that we're able to do that. And that's our own way of also supporting education on the ground. And not just, because for us, it's that every African child, whether they want to go overseas or access education here in Nigeria, are able to do so.
Wow, fantastic. I wish I could clap. I can't clap. Clapping now. So I hear, quality education. I hear access to education. I hear the best part, affordable education. So you being that brave,
Yeah.
it is awesome. Awesome. And I've kind of followed what Edward Consulting is doing from the start, and just saying, you say those numbers, 19.8, right? $1 million in scholarship. That is no small feat. So very huge,
No small fit at
very
all.
huge. So when you think back, when you think back to it, what skills would you say you had to pick up early in your career that you're seeing come to play now, that are working for you now?
All right, thanks, Tom. So I think that for me, communication was a big one that I had to improve on because you're working with different stakeholders. You have the clients, and sometimes the clients are underage, so their parents are also involved. So you're managing multiple people, and sometimes they have different interests. The child wants X, the parents X wants Y, and sometimes you're even managing spouses. There was a situation where like the dad just didn't really think his wife was contributing as much, and he would have really awkward conversations, and started to feel that he was listening to me, so she was also trying to use me to get to him, and he just like, so
Oh
being
my
able to
God.
one learn interpersonal communication, so you are not getting involved in people's like
Yeah.
family issues, and before you know
Wow.
it, you're like a pawn. And then
Yeah.
also emotional intelligence, right? Knowing when to say, okay, this is the line. All right, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to
Yeah.
have that conversation. I think it's best that you and her speak, right?
Yeah.
You know, initially when you're first fresh into something, you're so excited. You want it to work. Right? You're saying jump. You're like, how high? How high can I jump? You know, so initially they have knocked my head there.
Yeah,
You know,
literally.
discount. Sure. Let me just close the client. Discount.
Yeah.
You know, so but I learned along the way that one, not everybody is your client, so I need to be able to use emotional intelligence to assess, are they a good fit? And fit doesn't always mean, people think fit means, oh, they're an exceptional client, they have the
Yeah.
best grades, best work experience. No, initially the first 2 years we hadn't actually worked with anybody that had a first class, right?
Wow.
Because it wasn't about necessarily about first class, it was about the person's personality to show up for themselves, because getting money is work, so you need to be able to work with someone that understands that and is willing to do the work. I always say, how can people invest in you if you're not willing to invest in yourself? You have to show up first for yourself before anyone can show up for you. It sounds very harsh. So sometimes the ideal client for us is just the person that is willing to understand that, and understanding that getting scholarship is not easy. It's one thing to get 10K, it's one thing to get $150,000. There's a huge difference. So the work and commitment that is required, we're able to go the extra mile with you, but you have to show up for yourself. So I think just understanding, using emotional intelligence to understand that not everybody is your client. Also being able to set boundaries, right? Initially, when I first started this, people will call me at 11 p.m., 12 a.m. Sometimes people call me the day after and say, I called you at 10:30 p.m., you didn't pick up. And I'll be explaining myself because, you're fresh in, you're trying to prove yourself. Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore. I have a work phone. It goes off on Friday. I don't do. I'm not a doctor. It's not an emergency. It can wait. So, and if it is an emergency, I will be the one telling you that we will meet on Saturday or Sunday, because I do work on Sunday, right? But I
Yeah.
work on Sunday, clearing backlog, so my work phone is typically off, and I'm accessible and reachable to those that I want to be accessible to, which they know about. So just understanding that. And I think just another thing as well, skills, I would say, is leadership.
Yeah.
So I say this all the time, I do not want to be a leader. I want to do my work behind the scenes, do good work, close shop, and go home. It just so happens that I'm in a place of leadership, and that means that I have to be intentional about growing as a leader, leading from a place of example, and also investing in my teammates, which I say it all the time, managing people is like a full-time job, because you have to understand your team, understand their capacity, understand how they learn best, tailor it, provide constructive feedback typically that should flow both ways. And this is something that for me, it doesn't, I wouldn't say it comes easy, but I have been intentional, and it's one of those skill sets that I've really tried to develop along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. So before Aniema goes, I like the things that you said. So communication, setting clear boundaries, personally, and then also leadership skills. But I'm curious because I know that I like to hear stories. The husband and wife who was trying to go to school, was it one of them? Was it their child?
So yes, it was the child that was trying to go to school. I think that the father also, he felt like he was doing a lot of the heavy lifting in the family, and then he felt that the wife should manage the children better, but he didn't feel like his daughter was she was a typical teenager. She loved music, wanted fashion, and he just did not think she was serious or had an idea of what she wanted to do. I mean, she was 15 or 16. Does anybody actually know what they want to do
No,
at that
I didn't.
age?
That's
It's
very.
really all speculation, but he just found her to be really unserious, and he felt that the mother should kind of rein her in, and he felt like he was doing a lot of the, you know,
Yeah,
in quotes,
yeah.
the,
Heavy
the,
lifting.
the head of the house things,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
like, so what is she doing? So he will
Yeah.
ask me, "Bimpe, what is she doing?" And I'm like, "I don't live in your
House.
family. I don't know." And then she also noticed that he started to really like trust and value my opinion. So she would go around and say, "Can you tell him this?" Try and I don't know if you've seen the movie Inception, where it's like it's coming out like it's coming from her, but it feels like it's coming from me.
From
So
you,
then I'm supposed to
yeah.
go and then
Like it.
will be more
Love it.
receptive. And then, I
Yeah.
just had to tell them that I'm sorry. I'm not doing this in between, because
Between.
I have to now manage the daughter, manage the father, manage the mother. And it just felt like so many times I feel like I'm a counselor
Yeah,
because I have to
you
like
are.
rein people in and be like, it's okay, and just manage them. There's a lot of managing that
That
goes
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 on.
on, even with a
Yep.
parent.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I
So
completely agree. Thank you. Thank you. That's clear now. Okay.
All right. Thank you for clarifying that, Bingpe. Coming from your last question and how you answered it and emphasized the need for self leadership, it just makes me think about our last session, and it was the same thing that the speaker kept hammering on. And I think it's important for us to emphasize that again so that people see that there's a lot of self work that's required. The things you want will not be thrown at you. You need to first of all believe in yourself, and believe in yourself enough to work on yourself and become the person that somebody else
Yeah.
can see and begin to make investments in. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that.
exactly.
Moving on
Of
to the
course.
next question. So for Edward Consulting and for yourself as well, what were your defining moments? At what point did you say, "Oh my God, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to, really go all out"? What were your defining moments? Can you let us hear?
Um So defining moment, I think that we've gotten a lot of those. I think that honestly, the way this thing happened, it wasn't like I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna start Edward Consulting. This is my goal. It's so interesting. Yes, I'm extremely passionate about this space, but originally I was in the international development space. I was trying to go down the route of UN. I had done like some work in UNDP in Fiji, and when I finished from Duke, that was the kind of job I was, considering. However, I was always doing. I always, I always make this joke that I'm one of those people that is like I like big things, but I don't like to pay. So I like to find ways to get like the best opportunities. So like if you see me even in my life, like, you're always traveling. How there's always ways. So I believe that like you can get the best opportunities if you do research, invest, and you're intentional. And so that was like the mindset I also had to education. I wanted to go to the best schools. My mom's a single mom. She, had done her best, had already done my first degree, and so I knew that if I wanted to go to the best schools, I needed to put my best self forward to be able to get scholarship. And so in my own journey to find scholarship and the best things, I realized that I had built like a wealth of knowledge and I was really good at this and I understood the nuances. And because I was an international student multiple times, moved to the US when I was first 16, moved back, I understood it from both aspects. I understood the gaps, I understood the needs, and I also understood what it took to, kind of connect the dots. And so gradually I started to do this on the side. It was nice money for, when you're in uni, you need some cash for grad school. I did a couple of applications, made some dollars. It was nice pocket money to survive as a student. You know how student life can be. And I thought, I'll continue to do it on the side. So when I moved back to Nigeria, I was applying and looking for jobs, and the job market was rough. I just come out from a really good school and people were offering me like 100K and telling me I should be grateful. I flew to Abuja for an interview and the person was like, "Yeah, this is a very toxic place." I'm like, "So why should I come here? I will leave my family." He said, "Don't talk to anybody. Don't trust anybody." I just thought, nah, my life is not that bad. And I remember like turning down this offer, not having an offer, and thinking like, maybe this is the best. But I think I had a defining moment in my life where I decided that mental health was what was most important for me. And I wasn't going to
Yeah.
intentionally put myself in a position They're already telling me it's toxic. They're already telling me I can't trust or talk to anybody. I mean, come on. It's glaring
Yeah.
at me in my face. So I was like, I'm not going to do that, even
Yep.
though I didn't have anything. And, it was a scary decision to make, because what if I didn't get another offer? What if, And it was also the kind of job that I felt like it would overwhelm me, that I wouldn't even have time to say, oh, I'm looking for another job in this job. Like, I just wouldn't. I would be stuck there for like 10 years. Yeah. And then, like, be grateful for the suffering and toxic. I'm just like, yeah. I can't. So I came back home, and there was an opportunity for me to go to an educational fair. It all happened very quickly, and because it was my high school, where I finished from. They said, oh, you don't have to pay the fee, just come. And I knew, like, it was 3 days before the educational fair was happening. I knew all the Ivies, Oxbridge, and all the educational consulting firms that have been doing this for 20 plus years. We're going to be there. So if you're going to come, you either come correct or don't come. So I thought, oh my gosh, I have to have a pull-up banner, I have to do a flyer, I have to have a website, I have to have a card, all in 3 days. And God rest my best friend, so that passed away, Babus. He was so exceptional. He got, that night he worked, because he graduated with a degree from IT. So he set up my website on Wix. He helped me design it. And, shout out to Kalu as well. Kalu now printed my pull-up banner, as well as, so everything was done very quickly. Got there, didn't really know what to expect. And in fact, I even had to beg someone in the house to follow me, because, typically they expect that you come in pairs, but it was just me. So I told her, please follow me, because there's a time when you have to go on stage to speak, and I cannot carry my laptop on stage. But what if they steal it? I can't carry my bag. I beg guys, please, I'll pay you money, and every client I get from this, you will get X percentage. Just sit there. If they come and ask you, just smile. So what do you guys do when I'm gone? Just be like, So that was what I told her. So then I went on stage, and I spoke about myself, what I did. You had like 1 minute or 2 minutes. And then I came back to our booth, and it was full. And I was shocked. I didn't even know what I said. Sometimes when you're working in your purpose, you don't even know what you say, but it's so impactful, and people just resonate and connect with it. So people were like, the lines were full, and this event was supposed to end at 2, and I was still there till 4:30, because people were still saying, please. And then when people were talking to me, people were saying, oh my gosh, where is your office? Where can I come to? I said, oh my gosh, I'm not even got that far. I was like, well, where do you work? Iko, yeah, can we meet in a cafe close by? I can come to you. Because I had nothing, right? And somehow I just realized there was a need. I had the ability to feel this need. There was a demand, and I knew what I was doing. And so, just kind of, that's how it happened for me. There was the demand, there was a need, and then I initially had like one foot in the door, one foot out. I wasn't sure. I was still looking for a job. And then suddenly I was just like, you know what, Bimpe, if you're going to do this, you either do it 100 or you don't do it at all. And so I decided to go in, and this was 2019. So when COVID came, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have gone, because now business has stopped. And everything has stopped. And then I was just like, So what does this mean for me? Hey. Nobody can be thinking about school now if they don't even know if they will be alive next year. Everybody's focused on how can I stay alive? You can't plan for the future when you're so focused on the present, right? And you're not even sure if your present is confirmed or is guaranteed or where you will be, right? So I just kind of had to ride that, COVID wave. And in COVID, I was one of those people that was doing IG live, because why not? We are at home. I had an IG series. I was there. I did like a eight IG live series with different visitors, and it did really well when we started to grow our traction. So I would say that the defining moment for me was definitely that day that I just decided to, because I could have said, it's 3 days, I can't. And you know what? Some things seem impossible until it's done. But sometimes you just have to say, you know what? I'm just going to do it afraid. And I feel like with Edward Consulting, that's been me. I'm afraid all the time, but I do it anyways, because why not? And, when you're doing something and you're seeing the impact, you're seeing like people's lives change. right? You're seeing the
Yes.
impact. Like people are getting into schools. I have clients, they get into schools, they get an internship, and after the internship, they offer them a job of $200,000. This is a norm. This is not an outlier situation. And they call me crying, saying, Bimpe, you are there. And I know that like when they look back at their life, they're like, when I connected with Edward Consulting, when I connected with Bimpe, this is where my life changed. This is where everything got better. This is where I got clarity about my purpose. And so like I think
Yeah.
having all those kinds of conversations are for me are like the defining moments. And this entrepreneurship journey is rough. Sometimes you feel
It
alone.
is.
Every other 3 business days, I'm so sure I'm going to quit. I'm sure. I'm like, this is the week I quit. I can feel it. I can feel it. This is the week I
Not
quit
laughing.
because it's highs and lows. I never feel stable. I can have the week where like, I have like the best thing that's happened and I'm so happy, and that's 20 minutes later, I'm just like, who sent me? Why am I here? But it's the passion. And when you see the impact you're having in people's lives, those things are priceless.
Priceless.
Wow, so good, so good. The journey you've just taken us on, I mean, I can summarize it in a few words. For me, it started with you not wanting to take nonsense, because if you had accepted that job, that nonsense job you described,
Yeah.
the many lives that you are now impacting and continuing to impact on a daily basis, it will not even happen. You would even lose yourself in the midst of all of that, and then
Exactly.
your ability to see opportunity and jump on it, being prepared in advance of the opportunity, then recognizing when the opportunity comes. So many nuggets in there. Bingpe, thank you so much for sharing.
Of course.
Awesome.
Pleasure.
So it's no wonder that you were recently invited to speak at the prestigious Pi, in London, even though, professionals in international education, but I prefer the word Pi London, right? It was such a huge opportunity, especially in your industry, because it was a global platform. But then, coupled with that, you've also been nominated for an Emerging Leader of the Year. Um, how did this happen? Not the award, but just the invitation to speak. Because I mean, just going through and doing research and speaking with you, it's not every day that someone from Africa is on that platform and giving that opportunity to speak globally. And I know that it's brought so many things even after that. But how did that come about in the first place? And your journey has sort of alluded to how, but it would be good to know the exact how, what were the steps?
Yes. Thank you so much, Tom. So I think that we'd always done good work at Edward Consulting, but for the longest time, it'd been behind the scenes. And I started to learn that people want to do business with people and not the organization. So they kind of have to be able to put a face with that. That's not somewhere that is comfortable for me. My comfort zone is behind the scenes, killing it. My work should speak for itself. But unfortunately, today's world is the people that make the loudest noises that you recognize. And sometimes they don't necessarily know what they're doing, but they're just bold enough to make the loudest noises. And that is what so I realized that one, visibility was important. And then two, I needed to gradually start to, well, not step away, but more like prioritize big picture. And I had been so overwhelmed in day to day. And it's hard to do this. You're a small business, you're still growing, you're still trying to figure out like capacity. And so day to day is what you're overwhelmed and consumed with. But I realized that at some point you have to start prioritizing big picture, because it's through the partnerships, collaborations, and putting yourself out there is where opportunities come. Because if you're doing amazing and no one knows, then no one knows. It's no wonder why you see like places like, you see companies like Pepsi that still does so much advertisement. Do they really need it? Not necessarily, but being in people's space is a reminder that, and when you see top organizations that don't need that doing that, then what about us small organizations? So one, I invested in our marketing and just advertising. Two, I was more intentional. So I was, one of the, speaking with Toun, she showed me a guy on LinkedIn that was making so much money. Shout out to Toun. That was making so much money from LinkedIn. And, it's so interesting because typically when people see someone doing well, people feel overwhelmed or feel envious or feel jealous. I feel like I can do that. he doesn't have two
Yeah.
heads. I'm gonna do that.
No,
I can
that's
figure that out. Like that's the mindset I have. So when I see such people, I'm very inspired. So also just being intentional about my LinkedIn profile, investing in that. Honestly, I've been so bad because I've been traveling for like a month. I've not posted. So maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I used to be really good.
yeah.
It took a
But
bit of a
we get the point. You were good.
I
Yeah.
was really good. So being intentional about trying to post like 3 or 4 times on LinkedIn, but not just posting stuff that could help people.
Hmm.
Also, just being
Mm.
intentional about where we were seeing, joining communities. Communities are so important because then people get to know about you. And then also just, accepting more speaking engagement and, doing a lot more free webinars so that people are able to know more about us. And I would say like, the biggest thing is consistency. I
Yeah.
think that that is the biggest thing that's paid off for us because there was a time when we were posting and nobody was looking at us. We had one like, if at all, and those
Probably
days
me.
are probably. And those days are so hard because you're just like, I'm doing this thing, I'm grinding, I'm working. Is anybody seeing when is my big break
Hmm.
coming? When is my big break coming? But the thing about that consistency is when people start to look you up, look up your profile, look up your company, that consistency is what they see over time that
Yeah.
allows them to
True.
feel comfortable and feel like you're legitimate and you know what you're doing, and that shows
Mm.
a track
Mm.
record. And so just being consistent and realizing that good things take time. And so that was kind of what happened. Consistency, being intentional, deciding to focus on a lot of big picture. So partnerships, collaborations that allowed us to maximize our impact, but partnerships that aligned with us and our
Hmm.
mission. It's very important that you do not partner with people that don't align because again that can cause problems rather than actually elevating
Mm.
you. So I think these were some
Project.
of the things that I started to do. And it's really hard because you're doing big picture, but day to day is you're barely surviving from day to day, and then you still have to go and work on that fellowship
Yes.
application. You still have to join a class. You still have to, decide to, like let me give you an example. I applied for this opportunity. I moved on to second round. Second round, I'm not joking. I wrote nothing less than 25 essays. I had to do a presentation, I had to do two recommendation letters, and I didn't get it. It pained me, and I thought I was going to cry, but I had so much going
Oh.
on. Like the week it came, I was
Mm.
so stressed with work. I couldn't even cry. Like the tears wouldn't even fall. I don't even know if I've mourned
Oh
that
God.
opportunity well because I kept
That
thinking like
opportunity. You have to, yeah.
I'm not even sure if I've mourned it till now. But guess what? This was last year. They just brought out, deadline for. I'm like, Bimpe, are you going to put yourself through this? Probably.
Through the sake.
Probably. Why? But why? Because you have to, and just because it didn't work out the first time doesn't mean it won't work out again, right? And that's how life is. Like I'm the one telling my clients, like when they don't get their visas, let's try again. When they don't do this, let's do this again. So I also have to practice what I'm preaching, even though I'm like, am I going to really write 35 essays in this time that I have 100 more things?
Yeah.
Probably will, because that opportunity is an opportunity of a lifetime and it opens you up to a much larger network, and access and being able to be in the right networks allows you to have the right visibility and connect with the right people, and that can move your business from like something you could have done in like something you could have gotten to 5 years, you can get to it in 2 months.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, you said so many things: visibility, partnerships, being intentional about where you are seeing. But I particularly like how you said, they aired you and you're going back, you're going back again, and it reminded me of something. We had applied for something and we're very
Mhm.
excited, and then. So one day I think it was yesterday, I just said, oh my good, no, was it? Yeah, I think yesterday. And I said,
I think
oh,
it was
we haven't heard
Monday.
back from them. Monday, and then the next thing they sent an email saying that we were impressed. Once you start saying we're impressed by your submission, please
You
see
already
what
know.
is the
And then
is the opposite of that
The
unfortunately,
to
opposite.
exist. So not me sending them an email saying it was great being part of the application process. Hope does something for the soul. Because in my head I'm thinking, you put it out again, I'm applying. I'm applying, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You're like, look, I'm on this, but we're still going on. We're still
Yeah.
going at it.
Yeah.
And that sort of attitude, that winning attitude to have,
Right.
being consistent and showing up consistently. Fantastic. Okay.
All
We'll
right.
move.
So hearing you talk about your obstacles and the roadblocks you've come through to be here now, and the particularly funny one for me is how you tell yourself every market, every two market days that you're locking that this is the one that you're packing up with, but you still keep coming back. Can you talk to us about your toughest obstacles, so far in business and how you've overcome them?
So I would say that the other biggest challenge that I've faced, I'm still facing it. So I would like to say I have overcome it, but that's not the situation. It would be, I've been struggling to find good people. I think that a lot of small organizations or startups can relate to this. And I think that because of what we
Yes.
do with consulting, like the typical educational consulting firm is not our model. And so even when we're finding people that have good experience, it's basically learning from scratch. And sometimes just because someone has all the skills to be successful, they are just not able to build capacity and deliver. So I've seen scenarios where I've invested in people for months, believing that it was finally going to click, and it just hasn't. So it's still something I'm struggling with. We have a lot of demand, thankfully, very thankful for it. And people like to say, oh, Bimpe, it's a good problem. But it's something I've been facing for the past 4 years, where there's a lot of demand, we do quality work, but we don't have a lot of hands. And so somebody suffers. And who suffers? Not the client, not the quality of work, but the quality of my life.
Yes.
So I feel overwhelmed, overworked, and I'm just really hopeful that eventually we're going to get our right people. I would say that even though we haven't found our people yet, this is the best team I've had, right? It just needs amplified. We just need more of them. But this is the best team I've had, and this is the happiest I've been with my team. So I guess there's some yeah. So
shout out to the EC team, right? The current EC team. Wow.
yes,
And maybe even the
shout out.
past EC team that have, also worked with getting you to where you are now. Okay, so our next question is on brain drain, but you're in a very interesting spot. So usually when we have people on and we talk about brain drain, we talk about it from the angle of, oh my goodness, people are leaving the country. What are we doing? How is it affecting your talent? In your case, right, EC, Edward Consulting is the bridge, is the one helping people leave the country in a very seamless, way. So are people exaggerating about the brain drain? What are the numbers saying? What are you seeing from your end? And should we be worried as businesses, as talent finders? Should we be worried about this phenomenon?
All right, thanks, Tom. So I think with or without Edward Consulting, people are going to move. Migration has been a part of, times for even people in the UK moving to the US to study, and they might stay over, right? So let's forget like countries, even Western and developed countries, this is happening. Yes. Edward Consulting is just really helping people to do so effectively. Edward Consulting clients are not the ones that are going to go there and get stuck. They're not the ones, because there's proper planning, there's realistic expectations, and we're helping people do so effectively, where they're not putting their livelihood or their family in harm, and they're not having to sell everything that they have, but instead it's amplifying like their career, their earnings, their networks, and so on. So I think we're just helping people to do it the right way. People are going to do it regardless, right? Yes, there is yes, in Nigeria currently with the climate, I don't think it's ever been this bad, unfortunately. People have always gone, but people have always come back.
Yes.
So it's not that they're going, it's that most people are living with the intention of not coming back because of the climate. But they've always gone. It's just now everybody's thinking like they want better quality of life for their families. And sometimes it might not even be so much financial, but more of like quality of life. What does life look like? Care, access to basic amenities. What's that going to look like for your kids, your families? And you're seeing people making those decisions. Because I've seen people move from really, really good high-paying jobs, go and get an MBA, which, yes, it's going to propel your career, but initially it's going to take you back before you climb the ladder.
Yes,
So
that's so true.
I've seen people actually doing really well go in and actually start from the bottom. So not everyone is moving to like amazing things. Some people are living amazing things, but with the hopes of, something better for their family, right?
Yeah.
And so yes, brain drain is real. I think there are also people that are leaving and hoping that in a few years they're able to come back and impact the Nigerian economy like positively. I would say there's brain drain. Yes, it's happening, but there's also an alarming amount of Nigerians that are spending a lot of money on loved ones. So money is coming back into the economy. Through this brain drain. A lot
That's
of these people have businesses, they have families, and so they're putting a lot of money here while they're not here, right? And I've been affected from the brain drain. My best team member moved to Canada, right? And he here, and I thought, I remember speaking with him, I thought I was going to quit the company because after he came into the organization, I finally felt like I had my footing. We've always done good work, but it always felt really overwhelming. And sometimes as an entrepreneur, you can feel very alone. So when you finally find out one person that just gets you, you're like, hey, we're ready to fly. And finally created a system, a team. We were small, but we bonded. It was a family. And so even when he said he was leaving, I cried. He came to see me in person. I was very happy for him and I was very supportive. And I wanted him to know that while I was mourning for Edward Consulting, I was very happy for him. And
as an individual,
of the relationship, and it wasn't easy because it's easy for me to just feel like, people get into, can you leave me about that? But I was happy for the progression he was having in his life. And I think because of how I conducted myself and the work we had done, he actually stayed on. So we were able to kind of figure out a system for him to work. So I have someone on my team that's in Calgary, and sometimes it's 8 hours ahead. And because of him, Monday meetings, we have it at 12, because that's 5 a.m. for him. That's still really early. And we walk around him because he's still really good. So I think that there can be ways where we can still maximize people that are there, right? To still achieve a lot. And even though he's not full-time, the half time of him or the part time or the quarter time of him I get, he's more effective than like two people sometimes. And so I'm very happy with what I'm getting. So I feel like when people leave, the world is a global space. It's not like they cannot continue to do things. I think when we put limitations on, there's time difference, it can be harder. But if the person understands the value and if there are good relationships, it can transform and it can transcend. So that's how I was able to do in my own with brain drain, where yes, we lost someone great, but in fact now we have someone in Canada and people want to go to Canada. We're like, yes, he's in Calgary. You can speak to him, right? And
we have an ambassador.
I think yes, exactly. So I think yes, there is brain drain. Yes, we are losing good talent, but I think it's also an opportunity for people here to step up.
Yes,
and take on these roles. Now these roles are empty, so who's going to do it? It's the time for people to step up, develop themselves, improve themselves, and show that you can be of value as well, right?
Yep. You couldn't have put it any better. At first, I was thinking when you said people are leaving with the intention of not coming back, I was thinking, oops, but that's the truth. But like you said, you can, depending on the relationships, how work is managed, how people are managed, those relationships can transform, you said, and transcend into big things. And you even have, the best ambassadors or the best supporters of your business or of your company in different places, coming with different perspectives, but still supporting and being super involved. Yeah, that is true. Yes.
Right. And so I just want to add something to that. To be honest with you, Edward Consulting clients are actually a different breed, because I pride myself in quality versus quantity. We might not have like a volume of like millions of people, but it's more quality. So our clients are actually really, really eager to come back to Nigeria to actually improve the economy. They're trying to get this degree, maybe get some international experience under their belt, and then come back to Nigeria and actually improve the economy. A lot of them are going understanding that this is the next step for their career growth, and understanding that international experience is also needed, not just the degree, but then coming back and then being in a place to actually influence policy and change, right? Because we've seen it, like policy and change, yes, grassroots is important, but also being in a level to be heard is so important. And so while like I know there's a lot of, my clients are not jackpot. My clients are we don't use the jackpot mindset, because jackpot mindset is very, it can come across as very desperate, very, my clients have a lot of time for them. They're just using this to improve their lives and take the next step. And a lot of times, a lot of them end up not necessarily in Nigeria, but even in the African continent, and just wanting to do good work and improve the continent as a whole.
Fantastic. Aniema, yes?
That's really good. Thank you for sharing that. You couldn't have put it better. Some people travel because they want to escape, but your clients are not the escapees.
No, not at all.
They're going to collect good experience and bring you back home. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so our next question is the agony aunt one. So let me just read it. I have been freelancing since the pandemic. I want stability and benefits that come with having a full-time job. I'm not sure what to do. I feel like I'm floating. Most people seem to know what to do with their lives. How can I find or figure out my career passion?
Help. Passion. Purpose. Honestly, we are just figuring it out. Some of us, depending on who you speak to us, we have imposter syndrome.
Doesn't get more honest than that, right?
We're all just figuring it out. And I tell you something, the people that are so unsure of themselves are the people that are the most exceptional. The people that just saying, being themselves, sometimes they're not the most knowledgeable, but you know what they have? They're vocal and they're visible. I find that the people that really know their stuff question themselves. They're always like, am I good enough? Am I good enough? Why am I being invited here? And it's so crazy because as you climb the career ladder, sometimes you see people less like you and you're like, oh, am I supposed to be in this room? Yes, you are. You've done the work. So first of all, let me tell you, we're all figuring it out. People are figuring it out every day. They are 40s. People are reinventing themselves. If you look at a lot of the companies that were successful and people like Oprah Winfrey, they were not doing anything till much later in their lives, like till their 40s, right? So don't put pressure on yourself. All you can do is be better every day than you were yesterday and be intentional about it. That's it. That's number one. In terms of freelancing versus full-time, honestly, I feel like I get it, but I feel like you would have to make the best decision for yourself. Some people are creatives and they want to have their own workflow and kind of create that. And some people like to work on the structure, right? Where you have, you have salaries coming every month. There's no questions, but there's structure. So I think you have to decide like, what kind of person are you? And unfortunately, I hear right now that in Nigeria, a lot of people have full-time and side gigs. Well, I'm not trying to encourage this because of work-life balance, but we all know where the economy is at. So let's keep it real. Yes. Is it a situation where you want to work full-time and then your freelance, you might build it around when you know that your schedule in work is not so busy? Because there's peak seasons and there's down seasons. And so it's something where you're working on over the weekend or you're working in the down season. So then you only take on jobs when you have the availability, so it doesn't start to affect your full-time job. Because I tell people, do not create a system, something's going to suffer.
Yes,
it's either going to be one of the jobs or your mental health.
Or you. Yeah.
Or your well-being.
Something must give.
Right?
Something must give,
exactly. So something must give. And so you really have to create a system where there is a balance. Sometimes it could be that you have even in your freelancing, you have someone you're working with that is doing 80% of the work and you're doing 20. So it doesn't feel as overwhelming, right? Or something.
Exactly.
Something has to give. And so you have to create a system that works best for you, right? In that, if you're feeling like you want stability, and I get it, stability, right? Even as an entrepreneur, like, some days, some months are just amazing. And then some months, I know my accountant is going to be messaging me and telling me, hey, this month we have to do better. I'm just like, oh God.
Oh goodness.
This report, I already know what's coming because we have down seasons. And that's the thing. You prepare your peak seasons, you try and be at your maximum so that you are prepared for the down season,
Down
because
seasons.
for
That's
that cash
true.
flow, everything comes in. So it's kind of like refreelancing. You know, there are moments where there might not be a peak season, there might be moments there's a down season. You have to figure out what that looks like, and then you need to figure out, can you maximize that with your job, but you do not want to compromise your mental health or your well-being. It's not worth it, and it's not sustainable in the long run.
At all. Wow. Definitely not sustainable in the long run. Something we'll have to give, like you said. Wow, Aniema. So that's we wrap up. Any final
Yes.
words of
Yeah, I mean, for me, just listening to you talk about striking a balance between good mental health, quality of work, and all of that, I think that's one thing most people don't pay attention to. The balance. That balance
True.
is always important, always important. And I hope your response helps the agony and question asker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Bimpe. You have been a trooper. Obviously, we internally know why you've been a trooper, but yes, you have. Thank you. Thank you for coming on People today. And we've really enjoyed having you. We've enjoyed listening to you. You've been real, you've been honest, you've been open, you've been vulnerable.
Original.
You have, yes, very original, and you have inspired us to do more. So thank you. Hopefully, I mean, you may just see us on EC, soon, but well, yeah, that's soon.
No,
See,
we need you here. We need you here. In Nigeria, we all have to stay behind and make it better.
Of course we do. Yes, definitely. That's what we're doing. Yes, definitely. So thank you so much. And on that note, we say it's a wrap.
Yes, it is. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of On People. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Bimpe as much as we did. Don't forget to subscribe and listen on your favorite podcast platforms. To keep the conversation going, drop comments and questions on our social media handles. Until next time, bye for now.